When and why did you decide to retire?
So I stopped when I was 29, and that was when I just had the birth of my child. So my daughter was born, and I started struggling a little bit with anxiety and struggling with panic attacks and coming on like really frequently. So I just made that decision that it wouldn't, I couldn't train how I was training before, and I was figuring things out with what this was and why it was happening. And I struggled with the first sort of, especially the first year, couldn't understand really what was going on because it was all new to me and never experienced anything like that. So that was the real reason why I stopped, and it was the right decision at the time for sure.
Do you mind me asking, was that related to competition and then having like a young family?
Yeah, so for me, 100%. Now I can look back on it. I'm sort of 4 years in. It was being a dad, and just my life just changed dramatically. I'd gone from being sort of really selfish when I was fighting. All I cared about was fighting, training, that was it. And obviously, the birth of my daughter, she was the most important thing to me, by far, a lot more important than the training and the fighting would be. And I was just, it was just, struggling to come to terms with a few things, and I was struggling. I couldn't understand why it was happening, and I didn't have enough knowledge on it anyway. And I said this before to someone, I probably would have been the first person, if someone was struggling a little bit like that, I would have been the first person to say, I'll get on with it, man up sort of thing. And I felt like it was almost someone going, okay, well, let's see how you cope with it. And, people struggle a lot now, and I think it's important for people to talk about it and share the experiences, and it makes you realise it's not an uncommon thing, it's a very common thing. And it was something that happened, and it just took me a long time to process it and deal with what was going on at the time. So that's why I made the decision a little bit early to stop, because I felt like I could have kept going. And I was doing well at the time. I was on a nice little run, but this was just obviously a lot more important.
Yeah, of course. And was it at that time that you started moving into coaching, or was you already dabbling in it at that point?
Yeah, coaching I'd always done from the beginning, really. Funny, because I started off before I actually moved to Kettles. I was a bricklayer, that was my trade. So I started that when I was young, when I was about 15, 16, started an apprenticeship, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to fight, and I made a risky jump into going into just full-time coaching and competing, because that's what I wanted to do. It was a risky move to make, but definitely the right one. Looking back on it now, this is I'm 16 years into it now, so I can look back now and think I'm so glad and happy I made that decision, because it's led to what I'm doing now.
Yeah. How does it like your enjoyment compare to obviously they're both rewarding, but when you compare competing and then coaching, because obviously you're seeing like firsthand a fighter's journey up, achieving their own dreams.
Yeah, it's rewarding in different ways. I actually get a little bit more nervous if I've got someone on that's fighting. I'd get more nervous because it's sort of out of my control then. Whereas when you're getting in there, it's, although you've been trained by all these people, really it's you getting in there and doing the business. But yeah, I mean, I cornered Tom on the show just gone, and I feel a little bit more nervous being in someone's corner. So yeah, it is rewarding though to see, especially when you've been part of that person's training, and then you see the outcome, whether they win or lose. It's obviously nicer when they win, but yeah, to see it unfold in front of you, it's a good feeling.
Any highlights from your coaching career that you would put at the top?
Yeah, I mean, anyone that I've trained with, I've always tried to treat everyone that's on the same page, whether they're like a really top level fighter or an N-class level fighter. I always try and give the same attention to. It was nice to be in Bernise's corner for a few of her fights, only because I've just been friends with her for such a long time, and it was nice to be part of that journey as well, with her, because I still regard her as probably one of the best the UK have produced, for sure.